Ease.
Yeah,
Right.
I've always used that system. Like I'll do a dinner nearby near the stadium, and then I'll go, and then I'll still grab junk food. But they only had one floor of what do you call it? Concessions,
Concessions.
and it
And
was
what they
the
didn't have
lines
was
were
like the
just
little they
long
didn't
as
have like
hell.
the little beer setups where you could just get a beer on those lines.
Right,
So
and they didn't
now at
have,
halftime, if you wanted a beer, you had to go on the food line.
and then on top of that, they don't have the guys in the
Right, the
aisles,
ushers.
you know.
Yeah.
So that kind of have people kind of scrambling, trying to get a beer, trying to do whatever. But we're not as bad as the Miami Heat. The Miami Heat folks and the Laker folks, like, was it last night? The Lakers like was empty almost half the first quarter, but they're used to it. That's part of their culture out there.
Yeah.
So
Well, also they're only allowing 8,000 fans in there
Yeah, I
too.
was just
You know.
about to say that they're
yeah,
they're about half. Well, not half. That's not fair to say half, but a little less than half of us. So
yeah.
bottom line, it's acceptable for the first round. Like Bam said, I'm gonna agree with him. He told me to hear both sides. I agree with Bam.
All right, Bam, you
This is
win
your
this
time.
round.
This is your time.
You win this round, dude. And to take this out, like I'm proud of this team regardless. I'm proud of our. I'm actually like it's not just in the arena. It's boring on Twitter. Like there's nothing to argue about, and the only thing to argue about was I just was talking to Billy Reinhart, friend of the show, and he made a post where he compared the current New York Knicks to the 2018 Nets, and that they're in the same starting position that we were in to eventually be who we are now. I know you agree with that somewhat, Bam, but I can't
Well,
agree with that.
they're,
Tell me
they're
why
not
you
as
think that's
talented as
true.
our team. Well, they're not as talented as our team was. So I don't necessarily agree with that because I don't like most of their best players are free agents who are veterans.
Right.
Like they didn't. We had Russell, Dinwiddie, Allen, Levert, Harris. That's five legit NBA
EA
starting
players.
caliber
Yep.
young guys.
Right.
They have Barrett and Randall, and depending on what you think of Randall,
But
you know,
Randall is 26 this year,
right? Which is
27
so he's
all
entering
next
his
year.
prime. You'd think.
You know.
My thing with the Knicks is they were a play-in team talent wise that overachieved, and if they came back with the exact same squad next year, and so did every team in the Eastern Conference, they would not make the top six. They might not even make the top eight.
That my problem with them saying that is it just takes away from Sean Mark's genius. I like Leon Rose didn't even pick any of the players that were good for his team. Leon Rose's contributions was Obi Toppin and Emmanuel Quickly. Emmanuel Quickly
Right.
is eighth on their team in minutes, right?
And look, he did a
And
good job filling in with some vets. The vets that he brought in on cheap deals produced for them.
yeah, but as Nets fans, we've seen that. We've seen those. Oh, Marshawn Brooks looks kind of good, and this other guy, drafted in the second round. Oh, Isaiah Whitehead. Oh, like spinning pinball in the lane. He might be
Right.
good. No, these, you know, Quickly might be better than the people I just mentioned, but he's not. You're not looking at Quickly like in 3 years. That's the guy I'm gonna want to have the ball in his hands.
Yeah.
Like you're not
Look, at
thinking of him.
halftime of game one
Hmm.
versus Atlanta, it was obvious just by eye test that Atlanta was vastly more talented. And
Yeah.
that the only thing that would have kept the Knicks in that series was their crowd, but even that didn't work. I mean, if they had a regular whole home crowd, that series would have been over in 4 games.
Yeah, now Los, chime in. What do you think? Is this Knicks rebuild like the 2018-19 Knicks? I
No,
mean 2018-19 Nets rather.
it's not. And
Is
it's what both of you guys just said. We had more we had a group of players that we already knew that they could play and that could start and lead this team. Not
Yeah.
just that, but
Our starting
if
center
we
was
want to
20
be
years old.
very yeah, if you want to be very specific, into how the Nets became the Nets after that, we had a more clear path, given the fact that yes, they have a lot of money via free agency, but the guys out there that they can't go out there and bring in the type of guys that we did. They're gonna have to trade, and
Right.
that's gonna cut into that foundation.
Right. That puts you
I
into
was talking
the negative already.
Yep.
I was talking to a Nick friend of mine earlier today because he hears all these Dame Lillard rumors and he's always asking about Beal, and I follow basketball. He's more of a casual fan, and I explained to him when the Nets set themselves up, they set themselves up knowing that these type of players were available in free agency.
Right.
The Knicks have the money, they have the picks, but they can't just go out there unless Kawhi Leonard decides to come to New York. They can't just go out there. They can get one player maybe if they're lucky and then trade for another one. But this will be a more slower rebuild, and there's nothing wrong with that either.
Yeah.
There's
I just
nothing.
thought they should have been collecting, lottery picks, and now that Dallas is good early, none of those Dallas picks are worth anything. Like Luka is going to keep them in the top 3.
If we're being fair, they do have picks. If you look at it, the Nets had no picks. They
Right.
traded for picks that got them LeVert and Allen, and those picks are probably in the range of where these Dallas picks are. So I don't want to say that they don't have anything.
Right. They're basically going to have 2 cracks at like picks in the late teens, early 20s.
It all depends on your player development and your scouts.
Right. I just don't see it. Like Obi Toppin was a disaster of a pick, if you ask me. He was supposed to replace Randall. Now they've got to keep Randall, and pay him. He's been all NBA. He's gonna get all NBA, or he already has gotten all NBA. So they got to pay him. And then now they're gonna trust Leon Rose, a sports agent who has no scouting background, no high level basketball background besides being an agent, and then to basically suss out good picks in the lower rounds. I don't.
You can sum it up this quickly. Billy Reinhart was wrong, and I don't want to spend any more time talking about the fucking X because they're done. Fuck them. This is a Nets podcast.
I agree.
We're playing the Bucks tomorrow. I want predictions. Who's winning this series?
Man, before you do that, Billy, I saw him put out a tweet out there in which he's trading Joe Harris and a couple other guys to get KP in here, and I'm like, can we focus on this series, man? Like,
keep your fucking 2K lineups to yourself.
I think we're just running out of stuff to talk about because we're good and we're in the playoffs.
You gotta focus on this year. This is the year. You may never get a year like this again. You might next year. You might be better next year, but it's not a guarantee. So focus on now. And since Bam is asking for a prediction, is it okay if I go with my prediction?
Go. Give me a prediction.
I'm gonna go Nets in 7. It's gonna be a tough series, and Game 7, the crowd is gonna, and so is the big 3. They're gonna score over 100 points, and they will win Game 7.
That's dope. Bam. I'm writing that down. By the way,
I see 2 outcomes here. This series is going to be 2-2 coming back to Brooklyn for Game 5. What petrifies me about that is that Game 5 will be a weekday, and our pussy-ass fans will probably barely show up. And it won't be a raucous environment. But the winner of that Game 5 will win the series. So this series to me is either Nets in 7 or Milwaukee in 6. Gun to my head, I'd rather die picking the Nets. But my gut, and as you saw a couple weeks ago, is pretty big. So I don't think we win this series.
I say gentleman's sweep. I don't agree with you, Bam, at all. I say gentleman's sweep. We win it in 5. They steal one from us in Milwaukee, and then we come home and we send them home. I don't think
if this series ends in a gentleman's sweep, I got a Nets jersey for Kieran. Your choice. You pick the player, the color, the style. It goes to your son.
Oh, okay. You mean Trey?
Yeah. Oh, I thought his name was Kieran.
No, his actual name is Eve, but he's Eve the Third. But we call him Trey.
You live and you learn. So even
I
better.
didn't name him.
Trey.
My wife named him.
I don't know where I got Kieran from. It really doesn't make any sense.
No, I don't have.
What scares me is most people agree with you. Nets in 5, and I just think I don't see it being that easy.
I do. I think this is the most special team that you've ever seen.
I do think we'll win game 1 because a Saturday crowd, 7:30, will bring out the best of what our fan base can be. I was at McMahon's before the game 1 there. The place was packed, all net fans. So I think you'll see that again. And it won't be a late arriving crowd because it's a weekend. But I do think I think we wind up splitting in Brooklyn, splitting in Milwaukee, and then whoever wins that game 5 will ultimately win the series. Now, look, anytime this series could be 1-1, and after 2 games, after watching it, I might say, oh, yeah, Eve was right. This is going to be Nets in 5. Or I might say this could be Brooklyn in 5, or Milwaukee in 5, for that matter. It's a really hard thing to predict, and I think there's a lot of different things that this can happen. I've seen predictions from experts all over the map. Let's just try to enjoy it. It's going to be torture, but hey, if we come out on top, man, boys, that the rest of that field looking rosy for us.
Yeah, nah, man. Just to qualify my pick, I really believe we're gonna sweep them. I just don't think we have the focus to sweep anybody. I think, my boys who still go to clubs and party, they all basically say after games now, not even like on nights that they don't have games, the Nets party, yo. Nick Claxton is in the clubs, and
well, that's great. So he'll bring Colvin into the locker room. That's real fucking smart by Nick Claxton.
You got every.
Well, I'm sorry, but that's really stupid and selfish if he's doing that.
They are partying their asses off. They're everywhere.
Selfish. You know who's not partying their asses off?
Who?
Giannis Antetokounmpo.
He's not at all.
He's not. So there's zero chance Corbin enters that Bucks locker room. But if Nick Claxton wants to go out and eat some nasty pussy, guess what? There could be some problems on the Nets' hands.
Be positive, man. Don't take this from me. Dude, we're winning it all. We're winning it all. Yo, I'm gonna end our joint right here. Bam is talking about eating some nasty pussy. There won't be any of that. It'll be clean pussy. And our team is going to be victorious. We are winning this motherfucking championship. And guess what? Like, this series is for the championship. Like,
I'm not willing to go that far, but I think whoever comes out of this is the clear favorite.
The Sixers is not fucking with us. If Embiid has to run up and down the court with us, he's going to break. You see it. You see it. Like, AD couldn't make it.
Hey, can I make a side note on Embiid? How does the NBA allow him to do the DX suck it chant while humping the air in front of their television audiences? He's telling everyone to suck his dick. I mean, it's like maybe Adam Silver didn't watch wrestling, but nobody said, "Hey, Silver, by the way, take a look at this. This is what this means." It's really a lewd gesture.
Yeah, my son had to explain to me what that was. He doesn't even know wrestling. I guess it's just something that they do at school. And we were watching the Sixers game, and they were going to commercial, and he just really did that shit. And it's very demonstrative. And my son was like, "Oh, he just told everybody to suck it." I was like,
right?
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Oh man, Joe, those guys aren't beating us. We are gonna win this fucking thing. Los, let everybody know where they can find you and plug your.
Beating the Hawks, man. They're not beating the Hawks. How about that?
They might not.
They might not. They might not.
They're not beating the Hawks if he's not playing. If he's not healthy, they're not beating the Hawks.
They might steal the first 2 games.
The only thing I'll say about that is I don't want to overreact to the Hawks beating a non-playoff team in the first round.
That's not what I'm reacting to. I'm reacting to the Wizards, giving them a ride the last 2 games and the Wizards are shit. Like the Wizards
Yeah.
are